Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP, and I'm here today on Partner Talks with Carson Heady from Microsoft. Carson, tell us who you are, what you do.
Rick, so great to be with you today. Thanks so much for having me. So briefly about me, Carson Heady. I've been with Microsoft just shy of 9 years. I've been in a few different spaces, the SMC channel, and the last 3 years I've been in the enterprise healthcare space. I lead a team that supports a lot of our med device and med tech organizations. And so I also serve as the digital selling lead for all of Microsoft Healthcare US. Which basically, Rick, that means that I do a lot of training around social selling, prospecting, how we can get into other line of business outside of IT and procurement. But I also do a lot of webinars and newsletters, which feature partner events and do a lot of webinars directly with partners that we can broadcast out to our customers. So that's a little bit about me. It's been a wonderful ride here at Microsoft.
Okay, great. And you know what really caught my attention on LinkedIn is I keep seeing your webinars and things going by. But I looked at your profile and you're actually an author. You have a book called Salesman on Fire. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's true. I started writing a long time ago, and I always kind of wanted to have, the ability to put a book together. But there's a lot. I have a passion for sales and sales leadership, and there's a lot of great sales books out there. And if you're in sales, you probably know that. So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. For me, it was more important, Rick, to create something that was, had a unique spin. So I created a story inside of a sales book. Very parable-esque, kind of like the five dysfunctions of a team to make an analogy. And so over time, I've gotten four total, but Salesman on Fire has by far been the most popular. That one came out in 2020. And so it's just been a fun journey. Kind of follows a fictional salesperson through some of the trials and tribulations that we all face.
Okay, I'll make sure I put a link to that on the podcast when we send it out. So, what I saw coming up on LinkedIn as well is you've got a new group called Social Selling for Newbies. So help us out and tell us a little bit about what you're going to be covering there.
Yeah, so thanks for asking about that, Rick. It's really interesting sometimes when you create content and you leverage social platforms with the goal of forming authentic relationships. And through I kind of became an accidental podcast host myself here a couple of years ago, and it really introduced me to a lot of people that I never would have met otherwise. And some of those are Tom Burton and Brandon Lee. Both of them are kind of in the tech and coaching businesses, and we struck up a friendship, and we started talking about some of the things, frankly, some of the misnomers around social selling, some of the reasons that people don't adopt it or don't know how to adopt it effectively into their selling arsenal. And so we crafted a show, and so we've done several episodes. I know we've had mutual friend Brian Galicia on before, and so we have guests. And we also talk about different facets of social selling, how to get started, why it's important, how to sell your boss on it, and just some of the things that we should be thinking about when we tackle social selling. It's been a great show. We've done 9 episodes so far, and more to come.
Okay, great. And this is really interesting to me, being a CRM guy. We've really seen, I think, an acceleration in the last 3 or 4 years of the buying process in B2B become more like the buying process within B2C, where we're seeing now the average customer is somewhere around 60 to 80% through their due diligence or through their buying process before they're actually reaching out and talking to sellers. So what I tell my customers, or the salespeople that work for my customers, if you're not on LinkedIn, you're probably missing a lot of opportunities because they're going right by you and you don't even see them.
It's true. That's a great way of putting it, Rick. And I leveraged social and LinkedIn and some of these other platforms as a way to really solve problems. I would always hear, hey, we don't have some of the relationships that we need in the line of business, or we're not showing up with the right perspective. And, if you leverage social right, you can stay at the pulse of industry trends. You can see what your target prospect is talking about, what matters to them. You can find out a lot of things. Plus, you can see when there's a new executive change, or there's a divestiture, or something that we should be reacting or responding to. And doing that social listening, but also leveraging it to connect with people meaningfully, to get a meeting. Those are the things that have really helped me a tremendous deal. It doesn't replace any element of selling, but it complements and augments our fundamentals of sales.
And I think the earlier you engage in their process, and they may not, and this is one of the things when you're teaching social selling, like you can't have somebody connect with you, then jump on them, right? It's got to be soft. You got to be kind of sitting there, building up, sharing some information, liking their posts, maybe putting a comment on, and this kind of staying engaged and staying in the game until they're at a point where they're saying, Carson, I need to talk to you now. And I think that's a lot of salespeople have trouble with that, because as soon as they see, a fish biting on the line, they're trying to pull it into the boat, right?
Very well said. That's a great analogy, Rick. The person that got me started social selling over a decade ago told me leverage it to find ways to stay top of mind. So it's not about reaching out to them and badgering them about what your solution brings. It's about listening. It's about commenting on their posts and taking notice to what matters to them and utilizing it to just get the meeting and see if there's an opportunity to collaborate or work together, if there's value that you can bring right out of the gates. Typically, the approach that I've taken is, because a lot of customers do invest already with Microsoft, I always reach out to them to say, hey, I want to make sure that you're aware of and privy to all the resources that you're entitled to because of this significant investment. Customers aren't looking to spend more. But if you find ways to meaningfully connect, bring value without selling them anything, and you invest in that relationship, guess what? These are people that you can eventually do great things together. But you've got to figure out what that looks like rather than trying to, throw one specific solution down their throat.
And what's interesting when you say about that, we talk about, becoming that influencer. I think any salesperson can become an influencer if they understand their business, they watch what's going on, and then they share. What's really interesting to me is I've got a large following in the Microsoft world through the work I do with user groups and PartnerTalks. And so I start to think about, what do I want to post? Well, I don't want to post about Rick all the time, right? So I say, I want to post about Rick. I want to post about partners and what's going on. I want to post about customers that I see they're winning. I want to post about Microsoft. And the posts that actually do the best are the ones about product updates, right? Here are the new release notes for, Dynamics CRM sales, right? CE. I'll post that and I'll get 6,000, 7,000, 30, 40 shares on it, right? Because that ecosystem didn't see that, right? Oh, that's something I want to read. That's something worth sharing. And I'm not, it's not my note, right? It's Microsoft notes about it, but it's something interesting to them, and you just kind of ride along with the social, right? So you kind of keep showing up. So this is what I try to teach Microsoft partners, right? It's not, you don't have to worry about what you post. There's plenty of content being part of Microsoft. Just line yourself up and do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, know your audience. That's the key element, is what is going to resonate. What are they talking about? What brings value to your audience? And there's lots of different ways to do it. I always tell people, find mediums that you're comfortable with. Not everybody's comfortable with video or blogging. There's a lot of times where posting something that's personal, which shows that you're a human, and it's a tale that other people can relate to, or also promoting what your customers are doing, as an example. Not making it about yourself necessarily or your own organization, but what have you empowered and enabled a customer to do as a result of your solution? Or what can you post that gets customers thinking about, or your audience thinking about, how they could replicate that success?
Yeah, and I tell partner salespeople, and they ask me, how much time do I have to spend on LinkedIn? And I say, well, it depends on how much money you want to make, right?
Love that answer. I'm going to steal that, Rick. That's
absolutely. It's all yours. Okay, Carson, thanks for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. I'm absolutely going to be back to you talking more about social selling and partners. Can you tell us what you got coming up for 2023?
Yeah, Rick, thanks so much for the time. It's great to get to know you better. And, coming up in 2023, I envision, ideally more meaningful work with our customers and partners. We've got, hopefully, continue to expand our team and, our emphasis in healthcare, and obviously the ever evolving platform. Now, for me personally, I am working on my 5th book. It is called The Show Must Go On, which follows the character from my prior books into his midlife. Furthermore, I've just started a project with a gentleman here in St. Louis called Healthy Sales Leader. And it's really just all about how we can be our best selves by focusing on health, focusing on discipline, and applying that to our day-to-day. So a lot of great things happening. I'm just super fortunate. The last thing I'll say, which is the most important, is hopefully more and more time with my family. So
Perfect.
thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Carson. We'll talk to you soon.
All the best.